Live stream for the night. 9 true scary horror stories animated compilations. So let's get into it. Let's get into it.
My story begins not too long ago. I decided to use my computer skills to run a small darknet forum mainly just to share information without censorship. At first I was extremely paranoid about my site being hacked and having privacy being compromised, so I went online and began to research everything that I would need to ensure my own safety. After countless days of searching blogs, forums, and other material, I decided I was ready now. I didn't have any money, so I couldn't just buy a VPS and host site. So I decided to use my old laptop. After all, I wasn't planning on running a major website. So after setting the server up, and what I thought was literally every single thing I could do to harden it against an attack, I put the site online. Everything went great for a couple of months. Donations rolled in as the user base grew larger and larger. After around 5 months, the user base had gotten so big, I had to upgrade and migrate everything to a new PC, which I built just to host the forum. And from there, everything seemed perfect. The site was running smoothly, and there were no issues with the migration until one day, when I came home, I noticed the PC had frozen. I didn't think much about it. Maybe just a software bug caused it, so I rebooted it, and that's when it was clear to me that something was wrong with the PC. The PC lit up, and it beeped a few times, then shut off. So I thought to myself, okay, it's a hardware issue. After a few hours trying to diagnose the issue, I figured it out, and it turned out that the RAM had been corrupted. I took it back to the store since it was still under warranty. The customer service rep just told me it might have just been a faulty stick. So when I got home, I replaced the stick of RAM and had the site back up running within a few hours. Everything seemed to be perfect again. I apologized to the users for the downtime, and everyone seemed to be happy. Fast forward a few months. The forum's been up and running for around a year, well, maybe a year and a half. Now this is when everything started to get really weird. I finished work on a Friday. It was a gorgeous day in the middle of the summer. I came home and got something to eat, and I sat down in front of my PC and I noticed I had a message. Upon opening the message, I realized somewhere I messed up. I don't really know why anybody would actually target me. The message had my details from my name, address, bank details, passwords, private emails, private messages, and everything nearly from every single device I own. I freaked out and immediately took the PC offline, turned my internet off. But little did I know, this guy had done his research. After a couple of hours pacing my room, I received a text message.
Damn.
I know everything about you. The message was sent via some type of SMS service, so there was no way to trace it. And then my phone rang. Don't talk, just listen. I know everything there is to know about you, and all I want is 2 Bitcoin. Or things will get worse. I'll send you a text with the wallet details. The phone call ended just as quickly as it started.
Really?
I opened my laptop up, checked my Bitcoin wallet, and there was enough left over from the donations just to pay this guy off, and hoped that would be the end of it. So I entered the guy's details and sent the payment. Then my phone rang again. Thank you for complying. Unfortunately, someone I know really likes you. He hung up. Panicking, I tried calling the number back. An automated message began to play. The number you have dialed has not been recognized. A few hours passed, and I began to think to myself, well, maybe the last call was just having fun, and decided after a long day I'd just go to bed. Sometime around 2 a.m., I was woken up by the sound of banging at my front door. I jumped out of bed and I turned on all of my lights, grabbing a knife from the kitchen. I walked slowly toward the window and looked out. I could see someone standing by a car. When they spotted me, they got in and they drove off. I rushed to the door in hopes I might be able to get the license plate, but by the time I opened it, they'd already turned the corner. As I turned, I noticed an envelope on the floor. I picked it up, went back inside and locked the door. I closed the curtains and sat in the kitchen. I placed the envelope on the counter, stared at it for around half an hour, trying to muster up the courage to open it. Did these guys really come to my home? I thought to myself. After that 30 minutes was up, I decided enough was enough. I opened up the envelope, and pictures fell out onto the counter. They were of me sleeping. These guys had not only been outside my house, they'd been inside while I was sleeping. The images had been edited. Strange love hearts had been added next to me. So now I was sufficiently freaked out. I didn't go back to sleep, and when the sun broke darkness, I decided to head to the police station and tell them everything. I hadn't broken any laws, so I hoped they would just help me. At least after hours of explaining everything to them, they told me there was nothing they could do. At this point, I had never felt so alone in the world and helpless. I was scared of what this guy was planning. I didn't have the foggiest idea of what I was supposed to do or expect, so I decided to wipe everything off my laptop, off my PC, and my phone. I picked up everything that I needed, stuffed it all into a bag, and decided to leave. I had a couple of friends that I knew I could rely on, so I called up my buddy Marcus, and we met, had a few beers, and I explained everything to him. He offered me a place to stay, and I hoped that would be the end of it. I was definitely wrong. A few days later, it happened again. There was a knock at the door, first thing in the morning. Marcus and I both went out to find another envelope on the floor. Same thing, pictures of me sleeping, but these were in Marcus's house. I started freaking out again, and Marcus just said, "Okay, we'll need to do something, maybe set a trap or something." So we went over numerous ideas. Everything you could think of, from cameras to baiting him. And we settled on the idea of staying up during the night and locking him in a room. We filled the bed up with pillows, set up cameras, and even barred the windows in the room. We hid in the room next to the door. After a few hours had passed, we heard the lock rattling on the front door, and we knew it was game time. We left the door just slightly ajar so we could see outside. As he went past, and the moment he went into the room, we both sprung to action as quickly as possible. We closed the door and locked it from the outside using a chair and metal bar. There was only one way he was getting out. He'd have to destroy the door. We could see the silhouette of him as he paced the room, quietly. It was creepy. We called the police as we kept an eye on him. At last I thought I can finish this and move on with my life. Just as the police arrived, we noticed this guy take a gun out, place it to his head, then he held up a sign which read, "I love you," and he pulled the trigger. The police barged in, guns drawn, and told us both to get on the floor. We complied and shouted out that he's in there, pointing at the door. The police removed the makeshift lock and entered the room, called for an ambulance, and put me and Marcus in the back of the police car. I sat in the interview room for a good couple of hours, I guess while they carried out the investigation, when the detective came in and sat down in front of me, opening a folder, placing pictures on the table. "Do you know her?" "Her?" I said, looking at the pictures, and I told him no. He looked at me and said, "This is the person who's been stalking you." And he then began to tell me that they visited her room and found a shrine with photos of me all over the place, from restaurants to the gym and even shopping. He went on to tell me that she'd been the one that sent the messages, made the phone calls, etc. They also found a diary which had some kind of future plans for me and her. She wanted me to be her husband, and we'd been chatting for around a year and a half. After I explained everything, the detective said I was lucky to be alive. She had actually planned to drug me and kidnap me. She had even had some makeshift lock bed so I wouldn't be able to escape. To this day, I feel lucky, and I haven't been on a dark web ever since.
Wait, he said a dark web?
I love dating apps. Who can blame me? Meeting new exciting people, and sometimes, if the chemistry is right, having sex. Why not? There's been a thing on the news about people going missing. But hey, this world is way too big to be cooped up at home with childhood friends. I've seen dozens of guys and girls this year alone. A date every 3 days or so. I guess I'm trying to find the one. Someone that would make my life in this huge city more fulfilling, more interesting. Someone to share the joy with. I think my profile is relatively good. First picture, I'm standing against a red brick wall, wearing a white dress, heels, red lipstick, and sunglasses. Second picture, a selfie of me laying on the bed, on my belly. Legs up, and you can see my eyes though. Camera cuts at my nose, trying to be sexy and intriguing. Give me a break. Third picture is of me from the back, wearing shorts and a crop top. My hair down and in curls. I'm 19, so the attention I attract is enough. I've been talking to 4 people at this point. Haven't met up with either of them just yet. Joe is exciting though. This guy, Tom, is my first option at the moment. He's hot and clever and funny. He might be the one. Second option would be Jessica. She is not quite my type, but we clicked immediately. Tom messaged me while I was typing this up. Hey gorgeous, what you up to? Hey you, not much, just doing some uni work. What about yourself? Just trying to eradicate my hangover. Was a wild one last night. Help me to get better? I just can't feel sorry for you and your self-induced pain, Tom. Should have known better, haha. What do you have in mind? So, long story short, he asked me on a date this evening, which I accepted. I'm bored and have no plans. We agreed to meet up in Westminster. Yeah, the busy Westminster, near the Big Ben. I decide to wear a dress, thick jacket, sneakers, and bring my backpack. Going for the casual girly look. So, I got my train here. I'm a tad early. It's 18:36. I have another 24 minutes. So, I decide to walk around. I take a seat using a newspaper that states something silly about increase in murders of young people. That's London for you. I make sure I don't ruin my dress. Haven't been at Westminster for months now, and I'm happy it's such a busy place. Makes everyone feel safer when you meet a stranger in public. I see Tom with his phone in his hand. He's wearing black jeans, a t-shirt, and an unbuttoned blue shirt. He looks good. Tom kept looking at his phone, and people. My profile picture on display of his phone, no doubt. We made eye contact. I smiled and came closer to him to say hi. We head across the bridge to the arcade room to play some games and get rid of that awkwardness when you just meet in person. I'm nervous because he seems so perfect. Even too perfect. After spending a few hours there, we decide to go for a walk. The stroll around, walk past Westminster Abbey, cross a road and then turn right. It's all fine. As we chat and have a laugh. But I notice how we leave more populated streets behind us. I glanced at him and he looked happy and calm. Too calm. We approach a small park, and it's poorly lit, and looks quite empty. There's a fountain on my right that's relatively loud. I look back at Tom, and he's giving me a questioning look, asking me if everything's okay. Tom, I don't feel comfortable about this. Can we go somewhere else instead? Don't be silly. Come on. Are you afraid of the dark park? My smile dropped. How dare he mock me? I'm tempted just to go home. But also, I want to prove him wrong. Silly me indeed, as I followed him to the park. As we got a bit deeper, and Private Tom wasn't being his charming self. Instead, he kept on answering abruptly to my questions. Then, he stopped in his path. I looked up at this 6'4" guy, confused. Why are we not moving? He looked straight into my eyes and pushed me into a tree, holding my head up, kissing me. I couldn't move. I couldn't figure out how to escape. He was holding my hands with his. His body was pushed into mine, so I couldn't move at all. I figured a way to escape. Tom, I have a blanket in my backpack. Let me get it out and we can get more comfortable. Also, condoms. He smiled, happy with me being into this. Okay, gorgeous. Let's get to it then. I bent down to open my backpack, and Tom is all about my ass. Can't put his hands off. You were perfect. Before he could say what, I sliced a massive gash into his abdomen with a hunting knife. When it got stuck in the muscle, I twisted it, and Tom started screaming. So, I twisted it again, and then ripped it out. His mouth with blood pouring out. His eyes terrified. I smiled just to put him out of his misery by slashing his throat. Then I cleaned up from all the splatter. Put on my spare change of clothes and packed the dirty ones in my backpack. I left him there and went home. Tom was so perfect. And yet, another one that is just a pig. This town is crawling with pigs and asses. Well, there's about to be 26 less now. You're welcome. Oh, and Jess just messaged me. Guess who's meeting their perfect match tomorrow?
Bruh. So she's a serial killer. Damn. That's fucked up.
Please note, this first story is from a female's perspective.
That second one was too.
This actually happened to me when I was a kid. I'm a girl, and I was 8 years old when this happened.
Obviously.
I grew up with my mum and my stepfather in an apartment in Chicago at the time. My stepfather was a crackhead. I'm pretty certain he used every day.
What?
He was a pretty good father, considering.
What's that behind you? Hey, yo, bro, don't play with me like that, alright? It ain't like I'm sitting here watching, Scream or Freddy vs. Jason or Chucky or some shit. That second story, that was something else. Wow. This one right here? Don't laugh at that. Don't laugh at that. Nah, bro. This one right here, it's the fact that your stepdad is a crackhead. Is a fiend. Whoa. Yeah, no. I'm good. I'm good on that. Like, I'm good on that. Like, your stepdad is a fiend? Like, why? Why is that even okay? That's not okay. That is not okay. Like, your stepdad is a fiend. Bro, you should play Amanda the Adventure. Bro, this video right here is an hour and 14 minutes long, okay? I will do Amanda the Adventure tomorrow. How's that sound? I can do Amanda the Adventure tomorrow. Okay. And we'll go from there. We'll go from there. That sound cool? Damn.
There's a cat right there.
Okay. I have to check something. Bet. Jesus.
Considering he was high all the
Alright, let's
time.
finish the rest of this right here.
I felt way closer to him than my mum. We spent tons of time together after his morning walks. His habit got really bad.
Bro.
My mother was the only one who could work because he kept getting fired.
Then why the fuck she get married?
At the time, my mother had just got some new furniture. A whole living room set. 2 couches, lamps, end tables, rugs. She even got a new
All those shit about
TV. She was pretty proud and happy. Mainly because she was able to hide enough money away from my stepfather to buy everything. A few days after she bought everything, my mum and I went to Burger King. We came back to the apartment. My mother opened the door, and her smile dropped.
What I say?
There was absolutely nothing in the living room.
What the fuck I just say?
She told me to check my things. My bike, all my video games, my TV, and my clarinet were all gone as well. There were quite a few other things gone from the apartment. You already know who the culprit is.
Now see that?
My stepfather.
That's your mama.
Apparently, he owed some people money for drugs.
Exactly.
He said he had no choice. He had to either pay up now, or it'll be everything he loves. As you see, his habit was very, very bad. Now to the meat of the story. One day, I woke up to my stepfather calling me. It was pretty early. The sun was just starting to peek into my room. I got up and I heard him in the kitchen talking to someone frantically. I couldn't hear much because my door was closed, but I remember making out a little bit. He said, "Man, she's beautiful. You won't be disappointed."
Whoa. Okay. Alright, so, Twitch. I don't know if anybody in the Twitch is paying attention to me. I mean, I'm just starting out, which I don't give a fuck. But what's about to happen, I don't condone shit like this, okay? Whatsoever. So, yeah, it's just a video. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, sure.
I want a big stretchy one.
You want a what?
A big stretchy one.
Why you want a bitch?
I don't feel like I want to be constricted.
Huh?
I feel tight.
Dude,
I don't want your stupid ass jersey.
you never wear it any damn way.
Yeah. I'll get up.
Woman, I don't know. Oh my god.
No. I want like one of my big loose shirts. Okay.
Baby, I'm trying to help you, okay?
Well, when I say a big loose shirt, I don't mean one of my fucking tight ones you've been handed.
Unless you want this one, because this is the biggest shirt you have. What the fuck? Bro, this is... Oh my god. You do realize that the story that's being told right now, right at this instant, is about an 8-year-old girl. Really? Hey, yo, delete that shit, bro. Right now. Delete that shit.
What? Huh?
Saya,
What?
his comment in the goddamn chat. Delete that shit right now, bro.
What is that?
He said that girl poo fat up. This is about an 8-year-old girl. Delete that shit right now. You are a moderator. Matter of fact, I'll delete it. I'll fucking delete it. What was he talking about? What the hell you was talking about then? What the fuck? What was you talking about? Now you know what? I'm not about to say it and let you confuse me. Continue.
I slipped on my house shoes, trying to figure out who he was talking to.
Well, stop copying.
I heard
Kai's
one
video.
response,
Just say one of Kai's videos.
but the voice was very deep, so I couldn't understand what was said. It was strange for someone to be visiting our apartment, and especially strange since it was so early. I was tired, confused, and a bit annoyed at being woken up. I opened my door. From it, I have a straight line of sight to the kitchen. I see my stepfather, nervously fidgeting, pacing, and talking. He saw me and said, "Ah, here she is, man." I stood in my doorway and tried to give him a look of, "Who the hell are you talking to?" He motioned for me to come in. I walk into the kitchen, and I see a tall, older white man wearing shades. Looking back, I assume he was in his late 40s. He was balding, he had a short beard, and he was dressed very nicely. My father said, "Here she is. What do you think?"
Stepfather.
My parents tended to show me off to people, so this wasn't odd to me. The man looked at me, I assume through his shades, and then looked back at my stepfather. My stepfather had the most nervous smile on his face that I have ever seen. My father told me to give a twirl. I wasn't going to twirl in front of this strange guy, and definitely not this early. So he forcefully turned me. He held my nightgown taut, so it was fitting against my body, and said, "Not bad, right?" I pushed his hand off me. This was clearly very, very strange now. I didn't understand what was going on, but I knew something wrong was happening.
Oh my god.
The entire time, the white man said nothing. He just stared at me. My stepfather then told me, "You're going to have to go with him now." I frowned and asked why, but before I could really start, the white man spoke. He squatted down to my height, smiled, and asked, "How old are you?"
Bruh.
Nervously, I said, "I'm 8.
Bruh.
"Huh. You're a big girl then. Do you like school?" I replied, "I love school."
Bruh.
This conversation, and his smile, made me feel a little more at ease. I look over the man's shoulder, and I see my stepfather frowning and glaring at me. This scared me. I have never seen him with that look on his face, except at suspicious people to warn them not to mess with him. I keep looking back at my stepfather, trying to answer the man's questions, and knowing that I said something wrong from my stepfather's reaction. The white guy glances back at my stepfather while still squatted down to my height. My stepfather looks away in fear. The man stands up, looks back down to me, and says, "It was nice talking to you. You're a very smart young lady. Now, go on back to bed." I wasn't used to anyone giving me orders, except at school or my parents. But I knew not to question this guy, and I walked off back to my room. I looked back, and he was watching me. I stood inside my room at the door, and looked back again. He said, "Close your door and go back to bed." I looked at him, and he smiled back at me, and motioned for me to go on. I closed the door and sat on my bed.
You about to bust his ass. Telling you.
I hear the man say something to my father in an angry voice. I hear my stepfather begging very loudly, "Please, please take her." The kitchen has a door leading to the outside staircase. My window was pretty close to it. I hear the kitchen door open, so I slid my window open a crack. I hear my stepfather repeatedly begging, "Please, please." The man yells at him, "She's a fucking kid." I tried to peek out to see the staircase. There were 2 other large men standing there near the door on the stairs.
Yeah.
I then presume that the white guy punched my stepfather. I couldn't fully see the whole scene, but I heard a thump inside and outside, and I suppose that was from him falling. The white guy and the 2 men walked down the stairs to a nice black car parked in the alley.
What the fuck?
I hear the kitchen door close, and soon after, my bedroom door opens. My stepfather is drenched in sweat. He smiles at me sheepishly, and then casually says not to tell my mother. I just stared at him.
I'm snitching.
He then asked, did I want to go to the park? I said no.
Nope, I'll be snitching to you.
He walked away and left the apartment. I sat there trying to put the pieces together. It clicked that my own stepfather was trying to sell me, more than likely to pay off a huge drug debt. Then everything else fell into place. The strange, oddly friendly white man considered taking me. Why would he take me? What would he have done with me? Where would I go? What about my mum? Feelings of fear, anger, and sadness flooded over me.
That's what I'm saying.
I laid there and cried for hours, thinking about how close I was to never seeing my mum again,
Yeah, man.
and that my stepfather had planned to do this to me.
Yeah, bro.
My mother eventually leaves him some years later. I still haven't told her about this, afraid she might lose it. I'm 26 years old now, and it's still hard to think about this without crying.
I would have told my boss everything, man. Snitch of the year. 50 grand snitch.
Lyft is fairly new in my town. With the amount of DUIs and the lack of dependability from the cabs around here, I was pretty excited when it launched here in March. Lyft, for those who don't know, is a ride-sharing app where you request a ride and are matched up with the nearest driver who proceeds to give you a ride to your destination. It started out slow here, but now it's less than a 5-minute wait. No more would I have to spend an hour waiting for a smelly cab or ride home with a friend who is driving despite their intoxication. Thursday nights are typically when I use it. I get dolled up and meet up my girls at the club about 20 minutes away from my apartment complex. We meet at the Old Town Saloon, which, with their loud trance music and strobe lights, is nothing like a saloon of the Old West. But we like to dance and get some unassuming fellas to buy us drinks with the hopes that they'll get lucky. The obligatory Thirsty Thursday has dirt cheap drinks so we don't feel too bad leading them on. I request a lift, get to the saloon around 9, and there's already a line to get in. It's not the nicest of places, but the really loud trance music and strobe lights is nothing like a saloon of the Old West. But we like to dance and get some unassuming fellas to buy us drinks with the hopes that they'll get lucky. The obligatory Thirsty Thursday has dirt cheap drinks so we don't feel too bad leading them on. I request a lift, get to the saloon around 9, and there's already a line to get in. It's not the nicest of places, but there really isn't a whole lot to do here, and I'll be damned if this town doesn't enjoy a plethora of cheap drinks. My friends were already near the front of the line when I joined them. We dance, we laugh, we flirt, and we drink. We always make sure to keep an eye on our drinks to avoid any particularly rapey scenarios. I started feeling a little too drunk for my liking, thinking the next one will send me over the edge. I pull my iPhone 4 out of my purse and see it's only 12:26. Come on, Sarah, you're better than this. But I decide not to listen to my drunken self and get out of there before I end up doing something, or someone I would regret. I let my friends know that I was calling it a night and getting a lift home. Liz, Cindy, and Dua wanted to stay, but Maddie decided to share a ride with me. She wasn't as tipsy as myself and wanted to make sure I made it home alive. She lived about 1.5 miles away from me, so I didn't figure it would be that big of a deal. We walk outside to see there's still a line, though it has mostly died down. I use my Lyft app and a driver responds to the request within 5 seconds. I see the driver, Mitch, is about 3 minutes away and slide my phone back into my purse. It's a half a block from the entrance to the corner, which is where I decided we'd wait. Less than a minute later, a black Toyota Corolla pulls up in front of us and rolls down the passenger window. "Do you ladies need a lift?" "Mitch?" I ask, confirming my driver. "Yes, ma'am. Hop on in." I open the passenger door. Maddie opens the door behind me, and we both hop in. "Where are we headed?" I see him better now that my head isn't peeking through a window, and I'm instantly attracted to this man. Dark black hair slicked back to show his perfectly normal forehead above his ghostly blue eyes. I would have thought he were one of the twins from The Following, had it have not been for his thin, well-kempt beard. I'm doing my best to recall everything that happened, but I wasn't in my right mind. "Back to your place." I managed to keep a straight face as I replied. "Sarah," Maddie yelled, pretending to be surprised. "First and knees, please." Mitch lets out a little chuckle as he fiddles with his phone and starts driving. "Feel free to put on whatever station you want, or use the aux cord." "It's fine," I reply. After all that dubstep, I could use some Eagles in my life. "She always likes to take it to the limit," Maddie added, commenting on the song that was playing. "You girls sure are clever." He let out another laugh. "Did you have a fun night?" "Certainly feels that way." I feel like I'm slurring. "Where's your pink mustache?" "Ah, I haven't earned it yet. You have to give 30 rides, and you ladies are my 12th. Have to prove you're worth it, huh?" Maddie asked, jokingly. Mitch let out another laugh. "Something like that." "So, Mitch, get any crazy passengers?" I want to hear this beautiful man speak. "Besides you?" He gives off another chuckle. It's like music to my ear. "I picked these people up from a rave one night. 2 extremely drunk girls and 1 sober guy. The guy was sitting where your friend is, rear passenger seat, and the girls were also in the back. The girl behind me asked my name, and I gave her a fake one. She starts telling me how cute she thinks I am and how I should take her to In-N-Out, and then give her some In-N-Out. The girl in the middle starts asking if they know me before she starts freaking out and thinking I'm a kidnapper. She's threatening to call her dad to beat my ass and starts trying to hit me while I'm driving. The dude is trying to grab her and keep her cool. The girl behind me tells me not to worry about her and keeps asking about In and Out. But I got them home safe and laughed my ass off after I did. "That's nuts," Maddie exclaimed. "Well, at least they didn't puke on you. Turn right into the complex here and make a left, right, just like an old school Nintendo," he stated. Got it. So far, I know this guy is cute, funny, likes the Eagles, and old school Nintendo. I figured, what the hell? Do you want to call me sometime? He looks over and smiles, an ever-charming grin. I would love to, Sarah. He pulls in front of my apartment and punches my number in his phone. I let him know to take Maddie home and I'll pay for it. She gets out and gives me a hug, then hops in the front seat. I stumble upon the stairs and unlock the door to my complex. As I open the door, I see Mitch drive off. I stumble in thinking I should eat some bread or pop some ibuprofen. But bed just sounds like the best option. My head hits the pillow and I'm out. I wake up with a terrible taste of hangover in my mouth, but only a mild headache. All that's on my mind is a breakfast burrito loaded with eggs, cheese, bacon, and potatoes. I pull my phone out of my purse and see 57 missed calls, 6 voicemails, and 8 texts. I check the call log to see some unknown number first followed by 56 calls from Brian, Maddie's boyfriend. My first clue that something must have happened. The first voicemail is from an unknown number. Voicemail 1, 12:33 a.m. Hey, this is Mitch from Lyft. I've been waiting outside the saloon for about 5 minutes now. I can wait another 5 minutes before I ding you as a no-show. Thanks, Sarah. It doesn't make any sense. Mitch was there. He gave us a ride. But the voice in that message was a lot deeper than the voice I remembered. The next string of messages were from Brian. Voicemail 2, 2:59 a.m. Hey Sarah, it's Brian. It's about 3 and Maddie isn't answering her phone. Maybe it's dead. But if you could let me know what's going on, I'd really appreciate it. His tone escalates throughout the next 4 messages, and he states he would have come over and knocked down my door if he had known where my apartment was. Mitch hadn't dropped her off? What if she went home with him? It doesn't sound like something she would do. After all, she had been with Brian for over 3 years, and she wouldn't sleep with someone she knew I was into. I decided to call Brian back. Sarah, is she with you? He sounds panicked. No, she should have been dropped off by Lyft around 1. Well, she's not here. She's not answering her phone or calling me back, and I'm freaking out. Well, come over and we'll try to figure this out. I'll text you the address. I hang up and go to my messages. The first is a canceled ride notification from Lyft. The next 6 are Brian. I reply to his thread with my address and apartment number. The 8th message is from a number I didn't recognize. I tap on it. 8:48 a.m. Make sure you keep your door locked. Apartment 209. It was a pleasure to meet you, Sarah. Mitch? I immediately called the number. It rings a few times before he answers. Good morning, sunshine. Where is Maddie? As of right now, I couldn't exactly tell you. I just got paid to take her to them. What I can tell you is that she is gone. They will take her to another country and either sell her off or keep her locked up and use her for their own fun. Either way, you'll never see her again. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Were they playing some prank on me? Maddie and Mitch just screwing with me? What do you mean? Silence. Mitch! You should know by now that isn't my name. I got paid to take her to them. It's what I do. I sell girls and they get turned into whores. I could feel the tears warm in my eyes. You should really watch who you get into cars with, Sarah. There are some real nut jobs out there. I'm only telling you this because I thought you were a nice girl. In this way, you won't have to constantly wonder what happened to your friend. Please, I choked through my tears. Please, don't do this. It's already done. There's no point in trying to look for her. She's long gone by now, as am I. And whatever description you told the cops, you can bet that won't be the way I look next time. Keep your door locked, apartment 209. It was nice to meet you, Sarah. And he hung up. I stood frozen in terror for what felt like an eternity. Then I pulled the phone away, down from my ear, and dialed 911. As it rang, I could feel my stomach turn, so I ran to the toilet and let the burning vomit escape me. I told dispatch what was going on, and they sent over a couple of detectives. I explained to them and Brian what had happened that night before and the conversation that took place between me and whoever the hell the driver was. The detectives told me that this is not a new thing, just new to our area. These abductors target busy locations and will pull up to women and ask if they are for a ride, and if they need a lift. It was happening in major cities all across the country. The cars that were used in these abductions looked the part, but they were often stolen and had stolen and fake plates. They assured me they would review tapes from cameras on the streets, find the closest cell tower the call was taken from, but not to hold out on hope. They hadn't found any of the girls. If I had actually paid attention to the driver, I would have seen he looked nothing like the one that was supposed to pick us up. And his car was a brown 2011 Chevy Malibu, but we got in a black Toyota Corolla. Because I didn't pay attention to the details, my friend is gone, and I will probably never see her again. I write this so it doesn't happen to anyone else. Please make sure the driver has your name before you offer it, and make sure you're getting into the right car. I will probably never see my friend again, and it's all my fault. The dreaded night shift. I work from 4 p.m. to...
Alright, I'm going to stop it right here for the night. And we will pick back up on this tomorrow. Thanks for watching, Saya. And I will be... I will be looking up that, what is it? Abandon the Adventure? Is that what it is? I will be looking that up, bro. Dead ass. We're going to watch that one. Oh, man. I want to get some more people watching the stream. But thanks for watching, my brother. Alright. Peace.